Alrighty, 646 healthcare reform is one of the most controversial issues today, very emotional as well. Local Congressman Darrell Issa jumping into the debate today with a healthcare town hall meeting right here in town. You know him, he represents the 49th district here in California. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm happy to see you. I got to tell you, this whole healthcare town hall situation is a big old fat mess, quite frankly. And I'd like to know.
You don't think it's democracy at its finest?
No, it's not. Listen, I do believe that people should have an opportunity to speak out, but this jumping and spinning and giving people a headache, nothing is getting done. So I ask you, tonight you're going to do something here at home. What exactly do you think you can do to conduct a more successful town hall meeting, if you will?
Well, first of all, our pledge is going to be opened with a combat veteran still on active duty from the Iraq conflict. We want people to understand that although they're concerned and angry about health care, it's not the only issue. It's not an issue that shouldn't be dealt with civilly. There are big issues that we're dealing with that are more important than the rest of us. Health care is important, but we should deal with it civilly. We should recognize on a bipartisan basis that these problems are in fact solvable, and many of the solutions Republicans and Democrats agree on.
Okay.
We're going to try and set that tone.
Okay, that sounds great. But tell me, what can you say to, because most Americans don't have a clue what the health care plan is. What can you say tonight, Congressman, in plain terms to help people, because it's all fear-based. We don't know what it is. They think we're going to lose everything. So what can you say to people tonight? This is what the plan is. This is how we're trying to approach this thing.
Well, I can't speak of 1,100 pages that I was never part of writing. What I can say is most of the major problems of healthcare, a lack of portability, a lack of affordability, both in the cost of healthcare and the predictability of what your plan's going to cost next year, need to be dealt with, and we have solutions for that. We can, in fact, create larger pools and more consistency. You know, one of the challenges that the American people are facing is if I walk in with cash and try to get my prescription filled, I'm going to pay about 4 times what somebody on a health care plan is going to pay. And that's going to be about double what a veterans hospital buys for. We can deal with that in Washington. We don't have to scrub the existing system.
So then what do you do with the existing system?
Well, what you recognize is that Americans like a system of choice and independent doctors. They demand it. We have a problem in America that we spend about twice as much per person on health care as Canada. We need to look at what does reduce cost. For example, in Canada, you can't get a $50 million or a $50 billion award if something goes wrong in your medicine. Why? Because they realize that although they want to compensate people that are injured, that those large awards drive up the cost. America should deal with that. We should deal with the fact that health care needs to be predictable, affordable, transferable, and if you can't afford it, then the government should help you afford a plan of your choosing and not simply say, here's the doctor that you can go to at the emergency room.
So now, Congressman, when you say the words, the government should help you, you got a lot of people out there going, oh my goodness, if the government helps, it's socialism. We're going to hell in a handbasket.
Well, there's a big difference between, for example, the working American who gets an earned income credit, which is help from the government if you're not making a lot of money, and welfare. There's a big difference. There's also a big difference between if you can't quite afford health care on your salary and your employer is not providing it, and you demonstrate that this is all I can afford, and there's a supplement coming.
But let me jump in there and let's talk about welfare for a second, because there are people who are on welfare not at their choice. There are people who are out there who are just lazy and shiftless. We know that. But not everybody on welfare are there by choice. So how do we help those folks?
Those people already are fully covered. What most Americans know in their heart is the poor are already taken care of. The problem we have in America is the poor are taken care of, the rich take care of themselves, people in between are the ones that are most affected. They either can't afford or are afraid they won't be able to afford in the future their health care. It's the donut hole, if you will, that is most affected. And it's one of the challenges. There are a lot of people who are eligible for public assistance where they can get a regular doctor's appointment and they're going to the emergency room. That's something we have to fix. We have to make sure that people go to the emergency room, which is the most expensive place to get health care, only when that's appropriate. But those changes are bipartisan changes.
Well, that's good news, and the bipartisan part. I want to.
They're not in the bill, though.
Well, this is the big problem. And I know the president is now saying that he's going to take a more prescriptive approach. I'm not sure what that means. I want to keep talking to you, but I have to let people know that you're going to have this town hall meeting here tonight. It's 6:30 if you want to go and talk to the congressman. It's being held at Rancho Buena Vista High School there in Vista. And
it's 6:30,
yeah.
And we'll be there for at least an hour and a half. We've got capacity of over 1,500, and we'll have outdoor speakers on top of that. We want to make sure we give everybody an opportunity over and above the tele-town hall meetings we've been doing.
Are you guys going to have something in place, or something, some bipartisan bill or plan in place by September 15th?
No. There's no chance, because when you start over again with a bipartisan bill, the president's going to announce, as I understand today, that basically he's going to throw the progressives under the bus and tell 100 who said we won't vote in the House unless, 100 Democrats, unless in fact we get a single payer system, a government option. He's saying that's off the table. So he's starting over without 100 of his Democrats. By definition, that means either they've got to come back to the table, or they've got to reach out to about 50 or 60 of us as Republicans and say, what would it take to do a bipartisan bill? And we're looking forward to that. We hope that is what the president plans.
Well, I hope that the politics get tossed aside and get something in place for people who really need this. I want to keep talking to you, but I have to go. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.